what inspired me, I've been into reporting for 9 years now, and in these 9 years, I think for the last 6 years, my focus has been reporting on environment. And the reason why I was inspired to enter into this journey of reporting, when we began reporting some years back, we realized that environment stories were not getting airtime, both in print and TV and other forms of media. And so when I came in, I realized there's a gap here, because I was doing all manner of stories, features from all sorts of features, the ones that sometimes we call OE stories. So I used to do all manner of stories. But one time, a colleague of mine took me to Masai Mara, where we went and did some story on border-based migration. I think from that time I came back, I was like, okay, I think I can pursue this, because I noticed very few people are doing environment stories. So that's how now I ventured, or I majored in this type of reporting. And from then, I've been going from strength to strength, so to speak. Honestly, at that time there wasn't someone you would look up to, because across all the TV stations, being a TV reporter, there wasn't any TV station showing serious stuff on environment, honestly. Because many times we report on politics and other things, but environment, we did have people I could look up to. This was to some extent self-taught, because you have to learn on the ground. You come across scientific words which you've never heard before. Remember, it is not taught in journalism school. No one will teach you about trees, about wildlife, about anything in journalism school. So it's something you have to have passion for it to understand and to know how it works. Now, so I myself built a reporting environment sector, so to speak. But one thing which has helped me so much, I've been attending a lot of trainings. There have been a lot of trainings from some organizations training journalists on environment reporting, workshops. That is where now we've come to understand some of these big words in science, which now you must break them down for someone to understand. It becomes even tougher for a person who is reporting, bilingual reporter like me, because in Swahili, telling someone about climate change, mwambie mabadiliko ya anga ama tabia nchi. You know, before they understand tabia nchi, first of all you're like tabia za mtu, za tabia za watu, then inchi kona tabia. You see, so all these things, when you break them down to make sure people understand, it is not an easy task. But because of the passion for it, honestly, I've been able to sail through up to this far. Okay, the first one was carbon credit. You know, carbon credits, when you break it down into Swahili, hewa ka. You see hewa, then ka. You see, it's carbon credits. It's kama maka, you know. All these things, there's the coal itself. Remember, there's coal. We talk about coal mining. You know, Swahili, you have to break it down. So there are so many of these words which sometimes when you hear them, you're like, okay, now how do we even break this down? I'm trying to remember some of them, but basically, environment reporting is more of science. Remember, in school we did biology, so it's more of biology and biological terms which you have to encounter. When you talk about now, like we are in a park here, there are types of trees here. You know, if you're talking about a species of a tree, endangered species, and sometimes even the word endangered species. I know, how do you say that? It's like mti ambao uko katika hatari ya kutokomea. You see, in Swahili, you have to break it down and make sure people understand what you're saying. It has not been a walk in the park, so to speak, in that space. But honestly, it's enjoyable. When you do it because you're passionate about it, it becomes very nice for you to be able to pursue. The year when I began fully into environment reporting was from 2017. So in 2017, you realize there were a few articles maybe in the newspapers. But again, when it comes now to TV reporting or radio reporting, honestly, I cannot remember watching a serious feature on environment. So there were journalists there previously who were doing environment stories, but you could not identify one or two stories in a news bulletin, or maybe the whole week, maybe on a day in a week, whereby you can say, oh, this day there was this story about environment. There were stories about floods.
Of course, it had to be something as serious as that.
Something has happened.
People are dying.
People are dying. Like in Muranga, we normally have landslides.
Yes.
Those are the stories.
Those are now environment.
Yeah, environment stories.
Yeah.
There was drought, of course, as it has been, but no one now goes behind to break it down. Now, when talk about drought, what are we even talking about? When talk about landslide, what are the causes? What are the environmental factors contributing to this problem? Right. So now you have to get to a point where you need to expound it further. Not from a 2-minute story.
Tragedy.
You see, you have to make it something which someone can watch and say, oh, okay. Yeah. So we need to change on this. There was massive destruction of forests. People don't know why cutting down of trees, what the effects or ripple effects of this. So it was like a class. You need to teach people to understand. And remember, always I will say the language.
Yes,
the language. Jargon in this is crazy. Times I remember I had to argue with the editors, so to speak, and you're like, oh please, this is a story, don't you even understand? I remember I had to argue with one of the the biggest editors in town. I won't mention his name. There was a story about an elephant in Amboseli giving birth to twins. The last time it happened was in 1984. You must read now the history of wildlife in Kenya. So I came to realize it happened 40 years before. Now today, 40 years later, I'm telling someone this, it's like, this is not a story. So I told him, your problem you will not understand because we are swinging on this seat. Honestly, that's what I told him. But of course, on a lighter note. So at the end of the day, he allowed me to go and shoot the story. So, but now, looking at now where we are, other reporters in the space of environment, a lot has been happening in the last few years. Actually, there is a lot of change. Newsrooms have accepted now environment stories because in every sector, think of any sector in the country today, in the world today, we talk about environment, including sports. I remember when I covered COP26 in Egypt, my first story was climate change and sports. Every sector today, in one way or another, is affected by climate crisis, by climate change, and now that is environmental factors now leading to some of these effects. So newsrooms currently, I can say they've embraced, editors are now open to this, and actually it's given airtime in most media houses, and of course almost every other media house, including radio, talk about digital, talk about TV, talk about print. This is the discussion that is there because again, where we are in the world, we can't run away from this. It is with us. My take on this, or my advice to such journalists who want to venture into this, because personally I'm raising a group of people, not just from where I work, even other places. I try to raise journalists in the space of environment. You realize that this is where the future is. Everything is climate oriented. Mention anything and I will show you where it connects with the climate. Anything you think of. Just mention anything under the sun.
Manufacturing, sports, you've already said. You've talked about politics.
That is why you see we have these COPs, the Conference of Parties. Right. Conference of Parties basically it's political. It is. It is a global politics, and they come to discuss on the way forward. People have to benefit from this, and now how is my country going to benefit? My people are affected by floods, are affected by this and this, famine, drought, and all these things. So if any young person maybe wants to venture into reporting, and they want to venture into, so to speak, environment reporting, number one, they should be on the lookout on what is happening globally, nationally, and even locally, because the effects are with us in every area of our lives. So this is where the world is, this is where the world is running to, and we cannot run away from that fact. Honestly, it bothers me extremely. There are times you feel like if you had the ability to like kuchapa mtu viboko, you would definitely take whatever, do that. Because the suffering we are going through, the effects we are currently experiencing as a result of mostly human activity. And when you see someone, literally, you're driving your car, you're feeling nice, God has blessed you with a nice car, and then you open the window of your car, you throw a bottle out of the car. That bottle will be swept away by the water, into maybe by the rains into the river, and ends up in the rivers, maybe into the ocean. There are those microplastics which will break down in the process. Now you eat fish. Now you come across the fish, you will have poisoned yourself. and you enjoy yourself, and the next thing you are in hospital talking about cancer. The many sicknesses and issues we have with health in the world or in the country today as a result of our bad manners, of not being keen on our environment. When you are kind to the environment, it will be kind to you. I will ask someone a very simple question. Is there any one of us who, after you throw with your drinking your water, you throw the bottle and you're sitting, you are where you sit in the house? No. You don't. Now, why do you dispose it somewhere on the roadside? So I think these are some of the things we need to call yourself to a meeting and ask yourself, what am I doing to this environment? My son or my daughter is growing up. Where will they be in the next 20 years from now? In the next 30 years, am I leaving to them a better environment to live in, or I'm just making, we are being selfish. I'm just being selfish about now and now. So I think there's so much you need to, it bothers me. Honestly, I wish we have a lot of laws. But I can tell you for free, if we could implement even 10% of our laws, 10, forget about the 90, our environment would be different. I've two major Kenyan and one international. In 2021, I got the recognition for best environmental journalist in Kenya. That was 2020 from Media Council. And then again last year, again it was my second one. Again last year I was in Uganda for another award ceremony for journalists from the River Nile Basin Initiative, whereby I was second runners-up. I didn't manage the top one, but of course next one, it comes after 3 years, so after 3 years I'm sure I will capture that. But I'm so grateful because these awards are just to remind me of what I've been working on, and at least doing some to encourage me to continue, because I want to assure you it is not easy, because there are many challenges, but on the bit of now recognition, I am quite grateful because it takes a lot of sweat to tell a story which makes the difference. Because my first win in 2021 was on a story I did. It's called the Dry Wetlands. It's a wetland which is dry. And I remember we covered this story, a 700-kilometer long story from Nyandarua County all the way to Wajir County. The Wasonyiro ecosystem, how depredation was taking place in the Mount Kenya itself, went as high as 3,000 feet to see what is happening in the mountain, and the rivers draining into Wasonyiro, and how we lost a very powerful, a very nice swamp, which was known as Lorian Swamp, which we were reading in books. I went there practically, there is nothing. You can only see bones of dead fish and some other aquatic animals on the ground because of what the people have been doing upstream and within the middle stream of the rivers. We've lost a lot of ground. So this is a story which gave me my first award. The second one was the last year's award was it's called The Lost Corridor. The Lost Corridor is a story about Nairobi National Park. And the statistics are showing that if we are not keen, Nairobi National Park would become a zoo. So when we got that report, we went to the ground and we covered the entire ecosystem of Nairobi National Park. People don't know that wildebeest migration, the biggest wildebeest migration used to happen in Nairobi National Park.
Used to?
Yes, used to. Many people don't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
You didn't know that? Yeah, if you watch the story, we've explained that. And now there was an interconnection between Nairobi National Park, Masai Mara, Amboseli, Kapiti Plains, that is within the Machakos County, and also Oldonyo Sabuk National Park, which is not known by many again. I think KWS has to do a lot.
They do.
They need to do a lot to make sure people know these places.
But it's one of the most amazing.
It is an amazing park, but people don't know about it. So there was an interconnection, but now because of our activities, we've cut the corridor, the wildlife corridor. They are being killed by trucks along Mombasa Road. Every single day we are losing wildlife. Even today.
As we sit here.
Every single day we are losing this. And it's so dangerous that we can lose even lions on these highways. So I think that was the second one. The last one now in Uganda, it's a story we told about. It's called The Mighty Tower. It's about Mau Forest. We did a story in Mau Forest, how again, people are cutting down trees, degradation taking place in this very powerful catchment. Anytime you win something, there is that general feeling of nice. Yeah. And if you lose, you feel. But away from that, mine was actually, for me, it was the win for the environment, because some of these stories have had powerful impact on the ground. Because my first story, again, there's a story I did in 2018 which made a huge impact till today on the forest cover in our country. Right. Today the forest cover has improved because of one single story. Wow. And I'm so happy, to be honest. Yeah. One single story, 12 minutes, and things have changed. So there's that general feeling, there's that connection, there is a networking which has worked for me, because today I have a range of network, because in Africa and beyond, Asia, Europe, and the other places have networks with journalists and professionals in those areas. It gives a lot of creates a space for you, a platform for you to interact with other people from outside there. You know what is happening again in other countries. Again, it has given me a chance also to go to other countries. Yeah. In 2018, when I did that story on the deforestation, the same, I think a month or so later, the government pronounced a ban on logging. Oh. Since then, when the government pronounced the ban, number two, the then President Uhuru Kenyatta, again ordered all the ministries to set aside 10% of their annual budget to conservation. That was effected. He also ordered the Minister of Environment and the Minister of Education to work together to make sure that our school-going children are taught environment conservation from school. Yeah. It came up that time. And from the same time, I remember the government also mobilized even the armed forces. I remember the First Lady then used to go across the country planting trees in forests with the forces. And other agencies, talk about private sector, they all came into the whole mix. Everyone was like, oh, we didn't know this was happening. Yeah. I remember there was a tweet when that story aired. That same night there was a tweet from these guys from in the Ministry of tourism industry. One very major guy tweeted about it and was like, our nation we are finished, and it is affecting tourism. And when this tweet was came out there, it was like, again, even the tourism industry again now came into this thing. So in fact, so to speak, every sector turned their eyes into conservation. And this gives me a lot of joy. I always tell people, I may not have planted 1 million trees, but this one single story has caused 1 million trees to be planted. Wow. And that is a success for me. What you do may not, according to me, not have much impact, but maybe what people out there are going to do because of what you taught them makes a lot of difference. Wow. I remember when we were talking about now the ban on plastic bags. Again, there's a story I remember I did that time, which scared the people. This story was about a cow where we went to a slaughterhouse because there was a lot of plastics everywhere. A cow had ingested up to 23 kgs of plastic. It is in the story, it is on record. When I saw that, and the story went out that time, the CS, the Minister for Environment, that was Judy Wahungu that time. I remember, again, the discussion on banning this thing came up, and so to speak, the same year it was banned in 2018. And now you can see at least there's some improvement, though again we have this challenge back with us again. We need again to act and do something about it. The issue should not be even actually planting trees. It should be growing trees. There's a major difference between the two. You can plant and grow. You don't care to know whether it survived or it did not survive. I remember doing a story of how a farmer can go plant their own trees, and there's an app which now can tell you whether how many have survived and how many have died. So if you know how many have died, you can now go and replant again to make sure your woodlot is full of trees. So we need to grow these things. Teaching them how to plant is not the own thing. We need to go beyond now teaching them. I remember I think 2 years ago, Ethiopia went out I mean, I think they planted, if I'm not wrong, is it 1 billion trees in a day? I can't remember the figures quite well, but they did a major thing within a single day as a country. I can imagine you do 1 billion and you only have 500 million surviving. That's a major boost to the environment. I want to see people growing these trees. In our highways, why do we really take care of these things till it becomes a full-grown tree? There's a level to get, then your business ends there, you leave it to continue. That is where we need to go. Another way, we need to encourage even the planting of fruit trees across every other available space, even within the city itself. Imagine a mango tree in the middle of the CBD,
really
a huge one.
Beautiful.
The shade and everything. We need to go beyond reminding to action. You know, if you can remind them different, okay, there's what you call the space of educating people on something. The challenge with education is many times people forget very easily. You can educate them today, tomorrow they forget. Okay, it should be a continuous learning process. It's good to remind them, but again, it's good to involve them. We need to come up with a mechanism of, now, if we talk about now like CBD cleanups, because sweeping the streets and clogging the Nairobi River is not enough. We need to go to the source of this problem. And the source of the problem is now fixing the water coming in from other sectors, for drainage system of the city, waste management, solid waste management within the city, because it begins from your household. How you handle your household waste will determine how the environment around the country looks like. Because from your house, if you don't care even where your waste goes to. So sometimes I've seen some quarters, you find people in a bigger corner, they just empty their whatever dustbin in a corner somewhere. I remember and move on, like nothing is happening. I remember there's a story we did, and we had a picture whereby someone goes literally to Nairobi River, the banks, and with a plastic bin, and you see them emptying the whatever is there, and then you go back to a house. Now, if you ask that person needs to be slapped, apart from just being taught how to take care of the environment. Because if you ask them, why are you doing so? They don't have any good reason why they're doing so. So I think we need to go beyond now, just talking, and again, enforcement is key. You can do soft enforcement whereby you don't forcefully do these things, but let people understand. But now those who are intentionally doing it, I think they need to take legal action against such people, especially the big corporates, hotels which are emptying their waste into the rivers and stuff like that. The Environment Court should be strengthened, should be funded to make sure that these things are done and very fast. You don't have to waste, mention. Let's deal with this person here and now. Because the environment, if we keep on postponing the judgment day, please judge them now and charge them now. No time to waste, and no, you come next week, you come. You don't need, if they are caught, you don't need, what other evidence do you need? The environment is that. Then we can see you emptying your waste into the river. So what evidence do we need? You throw them in, or you charge them, or you make sure they do what's supposed to be done. If you treat the environment well, it will treat you well. The problem we have with our environment today is because we are not kind enough to our environment. So be kind to your environment. Make sure you're keen on what you do on a daily basis within your space. Again, I would like to say, please just take your environment. Plant that tree, water it, make sure that it grows, and let's just have a nice environment around us to make sure that the next generation at least will find a habitable place they can live in and enjoy.
And that's all we have for you this week on Changemakers. Thanks so much for watching. My name is Shiko Kaitani. If you do know a changemaker that we should feature right here on the show, big or small, doesn't matter, but has a big impact on community, let us know through our social media platforms at K24 TV, or you could simply actually DM me as at Shiko Kaitani on Instagram or on Facebook. Have a lovely week up ahead. We'll catch you next week.